Welcome back, everyone. It's just me this time. What? If you missed our last episode, then you don't know that Alex is on hiatus for a bit. She works in the film and television industry, and while things were shut down, it was a lot easier for her to work on side projects like this. But now that things are opening back up, it's a little bit more difficult, so I'm going to be taking over the channel for a bit. I'll put a blurb somewhere here to let you know what I'll be talking about in subsequent episodes. I am going to be trying to keep the channel relatively the same, but probably with more of a vintage spin since that's what I'm more familiar with. But in this episode, I am going to be giving you the lowdown on what it was like to live inside this house for a year. I did not go for car rides. I did not go into my even front yard. It was interesting. I know I gave you a very rosy picture in our coping with loneliness during the pandemic video. We do try and keep it positive over here, but since it's just me, I am going to be giving you the lowdown, warts and all. Before I begin, I'm just going to need to take a pause so I can take a little drinky drink. Give me 1 second. Normally, I do not drink alcohol, but I feel like I need a little bit of Dutch courage to get through this. So, first things first, I will say that while I was in here, I had a lot of crazy thoughts. One of them being that when I first started reading up on the pandemic and how bad it was, I immediately went into panic mode and I was like, oh my God, the rivers will turn to blood and the toads will fall from the sky. It's like I took every gloom and doom Bible story that I ever read and conflated it with every horror movie I ever saw, and like suddenly the end of days were upon us. I don't know why I thought that. I actually went onto the Google and I was like, have people been raptured? So no. There were no reports of any people rising en masse into the heavens. And also, I called my Aunt Ruth, who is like one of the most godly people I know, and she was still around, so I was like, okay, we're good. We're not great, but you know, the end of days are probably not upon us. Another crazy thought that I am actually super embarrassed to admit, but I'm just gonna say it. Y'all, I really did not think that the pandemic would last this long. I really did not. I thought that it was gonna last 6-7 months tops. So no, pandemic lasted way longer than that. It's still going on. And I don't even know, what made me think that, because not one person with any scientific background was like, yeah, bitch, this is gonna be over in half a year. Nobody said that, but that's just what I thought. I had a lot of frustrating moments while I was stuck inside this house, but I think the most frustrating one and the one that really kind of got to me was the food washing. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have been washing your food, but we do, and my husband created a system. The system consisted of a giant bucket of soapy water that he dunked our food into, then he rinsed that food off, and then it went onto a soaking wet ass table, and then I had to go over to the soaking wet ass table, grab the groceries, dry them off, and put them in the refrigerator. This was a 2-hour process. I learned some things, one of which is, did you know that the plastic that food comes wrapped in, not actually all waterproof? Which sounds okay when it comes to vegetables and things, but when it comes to bread and cereal, Luckily, my husband has relaxed that rule now that I'm vaccinated, and the process does take a little less time. I'm just really relieved that I am never gonna have to eat another slightly soggy, soapy ass piece of bread again. It was terrible. In the beginning, it was a lot easier to stay happy and cheerful and motivated to do stuff because, I thought the pandemic was gonna last 6 months. So I was like, 6 months and we'll be done, and then I'll have a whole new backyard. Ridiculous. I did have difficulties, but I had made a decision that I was gonna be like happy. Like militantly happy. Crazily happy. I was like Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm on speed. Seriously, I was creating my happiness bubble and I got my friends in on the ruse. I was like, listen guys, I'm gonna be needing you to stay positive and I'm gonna need you to be empathetic and I need you to like stick to my schedule, because I did have a schedule. When you are stuck in here, it feels like you have lost all agency and you have no way to affect the world outside. So you're just like, I'm gonna make sure that my time is well utilized in this schedule. So that's what I did, and gotta give props to my friends for helping me do that, because I was like Eveline from The Wiz. Don't nobody bring me no bad news, because I could not take it. As I said, I definitely was living in this like bizarre world where like everything was happy and don't nobody disrupt my illusions, please. But it was for a reason. There would be times when that reality would seep in and I would be just catatonic, and I really had to regulate my emotions because there were times where I would fall asleep for 12 to 14 hours with no warning. Just like, oh, this is too much emotion. And then like 14 hours later, I'm like, oh no, I've got to get up and deal with the world. So that was hard. And I'm very glad that I had a very strong support system to sort of help me through that and help me keep my emotions as in check as possible. I have nothing against being emotional, but when it's affecting you negatively, you gotta let it go. You gotta do what you can to try and manage your stress. So managing my stress was a really important thing during this time. I had moments of happiness, I had moments of sadness. It was just a really weird experience. It's like in the beginning, it was like I was living inside this sort of self-contained giant box, right? And I was all excited. I was like, I'm gonna paint these walls and make this couch nice. But then, it's like you don't notice, but every day, that box gets like half an inch smaller. And eventually, you're like scrunched up inside this box, like, somebody please help me, I am not okay. So, there were moments where it was like that, but with the help of good friends and a therapist, I was able to come out of this, relatively the same. So that's pretty much what it was like in a nutshell, being inside the house for a year. Definitely not a 5-star experience, but I did learn a lot. And my house looks nicer, so that's something. Friendships were deepened. I gotta tell you though, I am very excited that I am vaccinated now, because y'all, them streets, they be calling my name, and I cannot wait to answer. Obviously, I'm going to be very careful. I'll still be wearing my mask. The COVID vaccine is not 100% effective against COVID, so still got to stick to those protocols, but I gotta tell you, I cannot wait to take a walk somewhere that is not my own backyard. As always, if you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. And hopefully I'll see you next time.